Hey everyone, it's Nux, and today I am here with an unusual video than usual. Usually I'll do certain topics such as a specific video project on a game or covering the latest news of Sonic and Nintendo, but what we're going to do today is something I don't usually dedicate a whole video to, and that is a rumor. Now, usually I don't talk about rumors on this channel because more than often than not, they end up being fake, and that's because rumors are, well, rumors. They are only something that have a slight chance of being possible and actually confirmed. They're not something that's guaranteed to happen. So I don't usually talk about rumors. Now, I'm not going to say I've never talked about rumors because there have been moments on this channel where I've dabbled in rumors, and there's even been one time where I did dedicate a whole video to a rumor/leak sort of thing, but it was the infamous Grinch leak, and we don't talk about that leak on this channel anymore, to put it lightly. But the reason why I want to talk about this rumor is this rumor has been everywhere throughout the Nintendo community and social media. Like, this rumor blew up when it first debated, and it's so crazy and so implausible that the fact that it might actually happen is mind-blowing to me. Like, the fact that this rumor actually has a little bit of credibility despite its crazy contents is just so crazy. Now, of course, there might be some sort of Achilles heel type of thing to this rumor that we don't know about. Like, despite how good this rumor sounds, there might be something else that they're leaving out. But just overall, this rumor sounds so good that I just can't help but not talk about it. Like, I blew up my whole social media feeds just talking about this, and I said that I wasn't going to dedicate a full video to it because, you know, I don't usually talk about rumors or dedicate whole videos to rumors, but this one just has me so, like, it just gets my blood racing so much that I have to dedicate a video to it because I just have a lot to say about it. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive into the main rumor. I'll have a source in the description below, which is the original source that debated this story, but there have been all kinds of articles and credible gaming journalists that have covered this story. So I'll just leave the main one in the description though, and you can just go find whatever other source you want. But let's talk about this main rumor. So the rumor is that Nintendo is planning something big for Super Mario's 35th anniversary. Now, I was kind of confused at this because it's like, wait, Mario's turning 35 this year, but it's the 35th anniversary going from Super Mario Brothers, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess it makes sense from that angle. But basically, they have big plans for this anniversary, and the big plans are that they are planning to remaster and release games on the Nintendo Switch, and it's a bunch of Mario games apparently. Like, they have a bunch of Mario games that they have planned that they're going to put onto the Switch. And I'm like, okay, well, so far this doesn't sound too crazy. Obviously, they're going to put Mario games on the Switch. Like, it's Mario, it's Nintendo, it's the Nintendo Switch. Like, what's so crazy about this? But as we get deeper into the story, it just gets more and more insane. Now, first, they describe the games that they're going to re-release on the Switch. And the games they mentioned most prominently are the 3D Mario games. This being Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and the Super Mario Galaxy Duology, which is Mario Galaxy 1 and Super Mario Galaxy 2. Super Mario Galaxy 2, now that one hasn't been fully confirmed per se. Like, there was one article that speculated that Galaxy 2 might be a part of the collection, but they haven't specified if that's true or not. Like, so we don't know if Galaxy 2 is a part of it. It should be, because Galaxy 2 is basically a part of the original Galaxy. It's basically like a little add-on to Galaxy in a way. But it is its own game, and it does have its own unique flair, so not having it with the rest of the 3D Marios would be kind of weird, but I'm getting off track. And I already mentioned it too. Basically, the rumor states that these 3D Marios are going to be a part of a collection. Now that sounds pretty interesting because we've never had a re-release of Mario Sunshine. Nintendo is very stingy with what GameCube games they re-release, and it would be pretty cool to get the return of the Mario Galaxy Duo on the Switch and even see Nintendo 64 games in the form of games like Super Mario 64, even though they've ported Super Mario 64 quite a bit as well. Like, they've put it on Virtual Console and stuff like that, so it's not the most rare game ever, but seeing Super Mario Sunshine ported is definitely very interesting. Now, what makes this crazy though is not only the fact that they are a part of a big collection, like having all those games in one collection is kind of crazy, but the crazy part is they specifically use the term remaster and basically say that Nintendo is going for a 3D Mario All-Stars. Now, the reason why this is insane is because what they're basically implying is that Nintendo is going to take these 3D Mario games and not just bring them to the Switch, but remaster them, actually potentially add new things to them, actually upscale them to HD and add all sorts of cool improvements to them. Like, that's where this rumor gets really crazy, because it's basically saying that they're not only going to take these 3D Marios and give them back to us, but they're going to do new things with them, and that is exciting. Now, one thing I want to get into first before I actually talk about the games individually and how this could all work out. First things first, why do people not know the difference between remaster and remake? There is a clear difference. I went into this in my Sonic Adventure 2 remake video. Basically, like, there is a difference between a remake and a remaster. A remaster is just the same game, basically. It plays very similar to the original, but they just upscale the visuals, they change a few things, but not a whole bunch. It's basically, again, the same game, but it just looks prettier. That's a remaster. And a perfect example of this would actually be the original Super Mario All-Stars. Basically, Super Mario All-Stars took some of the classic Mario games, Mario 1, Mario 2 USA, Mario The Lost Levels, Mario 3. It took some of the classic Mario games and upscaled them with new graphics. Basically gave them a new textures that is similar to the SNES games like Super Mario World. That is what a remaster is. Those games are exactly the same. They play very similar to the originals, but they just now look prettier. That is a remaster. A remake is a full-scale remake of a game where they change everything. They change, like, the story, they change the textures and everything. Like, they remake stuff from the ground up. That is a remake. There is a difference between a remaster and a remake. Now, even the article is very vague with how they word this. Like, we don't know if this collection is going to be fully remade or if it's just going to be remastered, that they're just going to upscale these games. And heck, there's even the possibility that they're not going to touch these games at all. It's literally just going to be the originals as they were, you know, just put on a cartridge and put in one collection. So that would obviously be the worst case scenario, that they just take these games and resell them to us again. But the possibility that they could remaster or even remake some of these 3D Mario games is just insane. But yeah, we really have no clear indication on whether or not Nintendo is actually going to remaster all of these games or if they're going to remake them or whatever. Like, we don't have a clear answer on that. In terms of the possibility of this, I don't know. Like, there's some things I feel could maybe imply that Nintendo has been working on this, because there have actually been recently some stuff that's been taken down that relates to this. Like, there have been Mario 64 projects that have been taken down, like Mario 64 Online or the Unreal Engine stuff. And like, that could explain, you know, why they took that stuff down, because they're working on their own Mario 64 remaster, remake, or whatever. Like, there's so many possibilities and directions that this could go. They could remaster these games or remake them, or heck, they might do like a partial situation. Like, some of them they'll go out their way to remake, but the others, who knows? Like, we don't know how this collection is going to turn out. According to the article, this collection was set to be revealed around E3, and it was going to have its own event alongside other stuff that we're going to get into later. Like, there was other stuff attached to this rumor that makes it even more insane, but the collection was the main part of it. The other stuff including the stuff we're going to get into next, and stuff about the theme park and the upcoming movie, which those can be their own video. I'm not even going to get into those. But now let's briefly talk about each of these Mario games individually and how they could change them up to be HD and ready for this collection. So the first game we're going to talk about is obviously the original 3D Mario itself, Super Mario 64. Now, 64 being in a collection with Mario Sunshine and the two Galaxy games, I feel like 64 is the biggest pointer to the fact that they could actually remaster or even remake these games. Because Super Mario 64 is a game that's just so dated. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like 64 is still a great game, even to this day in some aspects, but it is definitely the most dated game in the collection. And there's so many elements about it that are just not modern and not up to standard, that putting them next to games like Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Galaxy that have elements that hold up to this day, it just would be kind of weird. Like, it's definitely possible they can do that and just play into the retro aspect of it, but I feel like 64 of all the games is definitely the one they'd have to change up the most. Now, how can they change it up? Well, I don't know, because they basically have to remake or do a full remaster to make this game stand up to the others, because Mario 64 really does have so many dated elements between its camera, between its PNG trees. Like, there's just so many old elements about Mario 64 that just warrants updating. Now, what could potentially point to them actually going out of their way to really update Mario 64? Well, one potential hint that might point to this in something that people don't make a connection to is the fact that Mario Odyssey had some Mario 64 stuff. Now, obviously those could have just been coincidental references because, of course, Odyssey itself is kind of a successor to 64, but there's a lot of Mario 64 elements about Odyssey that just make me think that it could tie into this whole remaster situation. And the biggest thing is definitely the Mario 64 costume, and the fact that they actually did remake a part of that game in HD with upscale textures and stuff like that. Like, the fact that there was an area from 64 that they went out their way to remake, and they have a HD polygonal costume, it just points to the fact that they could actually remaster or even remake 64. Like, it could either be a remaster where they basically just upscale stuff and fix stuff like the picture trees or the way certain areas look. But yeah, that's how it could go. Now, if it were up to me, obviously the dream thing I want is a full Super Mario 64 remake that's non-polygonal. Like, I don't want Mario looking retro for the sake of being retro. I want Mario to look like the Odyssey style. I want him to be up to date to the recent games. And I also want it to mix match elements of not only the original, but some of the elements from the DS version. Now, this is a bit controversial because a lot of people actually do not like the DS version of Super Mario 64 because in some elements it's worse than the original, surprisingly, which in a way, yeah, because it was on a handheld, so it was a little weaker, and people argue that the characters were kind of more of a hassle than a good addition, and all sorts of stuff like that. But I think if they tweak the characters a bit, redesign Luigi, Wario, Yoshi, maybe even add some other characters, if they maybe add online multiplayer like in Super Mario 64 Online, that would be really cool. Like, I could go into a whole ramble about how I would want them to remake Mario 64. In fact, I actually had plans to do a remaking 64 video, maybe, because there's just so many things they could change up. Like, I want a full remake because some of the areas in Mario 64 just need a full revitalization. Like, I want 𝗵𝗵𝗹𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 yeah, 64 would definitely be a game that gets the most changes if they truly do remaster or remake multiple games in this collection. Now, when it comes to Super Mario Sunshine and me have an interesting relationship. See, unlike Mario 64, where Mario 64, I played it back in the day and I have a lot of nostalgia for it, Mario Sunshine I didn't play until a few years ago because it took me some time to actually get my hands on the game due to how rare it is. And my first playthrough of Sunshine, let's just say that I didn't enjoy it at all. Now, that's not to say the game is bad. Personally, I still like the game a lot. Like, I like all sorts of Mario games, so obviously I was going to enjoy Mario Sunshine either way. And there are plenty of fun levels in that game and aspects I do like about it, such as the fact that it does have a bit more of a story and has full voice acting. It does have a really cool setting that looks nice and has all sorts of cool locations. There's all sorts of elements about Mario Sunshine that I do like, but there are a lot of elements I don't like. And most of these elements are tied to the game itself, such as the camera. The camera in that game was just not the best. Obviously, one of the worst problems about Super Mario Sunshine was the blue coins and how there was no radar or thing that could help you find them at all. You basically had no type of guide or anything to help you find those blue coins. And of course, Sunshine has some of the most annoying missions / levels in 3D Mario history, between the pachinko machine level, the Sandbird level, the 𝗕𝗲𝗳𝗲𝗄𝗏 level. There's so many bad levels in Super Mario Sunshine that honestly, Sunshine would need a full remake to really make that game more enjoyable for me. It's not a terrible game, but it just has so many aspects that are annoying that I just don't like it compared to some of the other 3D Marios, at least in my opinion. There's definitely stuff I love about it, I like that free movement of Mario. I do like some elements of Blood, but the game was just not as fun as Mario 64 or Mario Galaxy for me. Now, in terms of how it could fit into this collection, assuming again that these aren't just straight ports, how would they remake or remaster Sunshine? Now, obviously, best case scenario, they do remake Sunshine and they do make it, a little better and fix some of those flaws about it. And I'm thinking that one of the ways they could fix Mario Sunshine is actually use the Wind Waker HD engine. And I mentioned that because Wind Waker HD was a GameCube game, and the engine they used to fix it was really mostly for lighting and making the game just look more modern and adding all sorts of new textures and stuff like that. Just doing that for Super Mario Sunshine, I feel could make the game look really good. Now, heck, I think that just upgrading the textures could look really good, because if you look up some 4K texture videos for Super Mario Sunshine, just basically upscaling the textures makes that game look good. So yeah, either one could work. Obviously, I would prefer the remake so they can fix those flaws and make the game more enjoyable, but even if they just upscale that game, I think it can work just fine. And finally, we arrive at the Mario Galaxy duology with Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Galaxy, and Super Mario Galaxy 2. Now, with the Galaxy Duo, honestly, you don't have to really remake those games per se. If they did attempt to remake the two Galaxy games, I would definitely welcome it, but those games as they are easily some of the best 3D Mario games ever. They are just so good. They have that perfect balance between easy, medium, and hard. They don't have too many annoying levels. The levels that are annoying or towards the end and actually are fitting because they're the last few levels. Stuff like that. The Galaxy games are just really great games. They have great music. They don't even have to remix the music and stuff like that. I think for 64 and Sunshine, if they did attempt to remaster or remake those games, they'd have to change up stuff like the music. But the Galaxy Duo, don't even touch that music, because that music as it was beautiful. Maybe if you want to add new, cleaner versions of the tracks, that would be cool. But don't even touch the Galaxy soundtrack, because as it was so great. Now, obviously, the only obstacle to touching the Galaxy Duo and bringing it to Switch is the motion controls, because they were heavily motion controlled, focused with the Wiimote, especially with the shaking and the way that Mario moved in certain levels, such as the ball level or the bird flying levels. And the solution to this is that they could either just move that stuff to button controls or just use the Switch gyro. Now, the Switch gyro is kind of iffy because it's not exactly as perfect as the IR or whatever pointer from the Wii. The Wii pointer made that so much more accurate, but the Switch isn't as accurate and you have to constantly recalibrate it. My friend who played the World Ends With You port on Switch noted at how the controls of that game were kind of terrible due to using the Switch gyros, so maybe it'd be best to use button controls. And I think that's what they would do, because there's a port of Mario Galaxy in China on the NVIDIA Shield, and for that they moved some of the motion stuff to button controls. I don't know how they would do the pointers so that you could collect star bits and stuff like that, and for multiplayer maybe they have to tweak that somehow, but otherwise, yeah, the Mario Galaxy games are pretty set. If you gave them the 4K texture or just the HD basic texture upscale, those games would be as fine as they were back in the day. So that's basically how they could handle all the 3D Mario games that they would put in this collection. Again, that's assuming best case scenario that they do remake or remaster these games and put them in one collection. Again, some articles state that the collection part of it is not entirely guaranteed because there's a possibility they could remake or remaster these games for Switch but sell them separately, which would be kind of weird. But if they truly put their all into it and really make these games better, then I guess that'd be okay. But just buying all these different Mario games for $60 would be Obviously putting them in a collection is a better deal, but them being in a collection doesn't guarantee that they're going to remaster or remake them. Other companies have done that. You know, there's the Crash remake trilogy where they have the original Crash games fully remastered from the ground up, or what am I saying? Fully remastered from the ground up. I mean remastered, because that's a example of a remastered. It's a remastered collection, it's not remade. At least I don't think so, but yeah. Anyway, so that's the collection aspect of this rumor, and they kind of imply that they might even do more for the 35th anniversary. There might be more games that they try and touch, like if they touch the 2D games, that'd definitely be interesting, especially stuff like the New Super Mario Bros. Games. I originally wanted a New Super Mario Bros. Collection, but they just released like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe for a full $60, so I highly doubt that. I doubt they're going to do a collection for that. But yeah, that's the collection part of this rumor. But the rumor isn't done yet, because it also implies that there's going to be a Super Mario 3D World Deluxe port, which is probably the safest part of this rumor, because obviously they're going to eventually port Super Mario 3D World. It's one of the few Wii U games that had value that's still left on the system, and Wii U ports have done extremely well on the Switch, so obviously they're going to port Super Mario 3D World Deluxe. I guess the big discussion with that is what they could add to the game, and I'm just going to predict that they're going to add the usual stick. Maybe they'll add 1 or 2 characters, new levels. They might change some things up to work with the Switch better than with the Wii U. Like 3D World didn't have too many things that required the gamepad, but there might be a few things they have to change up, like those blow into the mic levels. So yeah, besides that, the 3D World port is pretty straightforward. I don't have much to say about that. I do have to say this though. Assuming we do get a 3D World port and we get the other 3D Marios, there's one 3D Mario that's going to get cucked in the process, and that's poor 3D Land. Like, poor 3D Land though. That game is going to get left in the dust by the other 3D Marios, and I doubt they'd port it on its own or put it in the collection, because honestly, Super Mario 3D Land, aside for what it did for the Nintendo 3DS when it initially came out, it's honestly the most forgettable 3D Mario and mainline Mario overall. Like, there's not much unique flavor to that game. Yeah, it had some cool concepts, and it basically introduced all the elements that would make 3D World the great game it is, but besides that, what else does it have to it that makes it special? The Tanuki Leaf? There's not much uniqueness to 3D Land at all. So yeah, if that game gets left behind, I'm not going to cry over spilt milk, but it would be cool if they did something for that game. I think the best thing that could happen is they do put the game among the collection, or maybe add it a part of the 3D World Deluxe port. That would be kind of cool. But otherwise, I'm not expecting them to do anything with that game. Alright, so now let's get into the final part of this rumor. And the final part of this rumor is actually a new game, not necessarily a port. Like, I guess that's the only downside to this whole Mario 35th anniversary rumor. It's a lot of old stuff we've played before. But there is a new game among this new rumor, and that is the fact that there is going to be a new Paper Mario game that goes back to the RPG format of the first two. And I guess that would be really cool if it does happen. Like, if they actually make a proper Paper Mario that plays like the first two, that would be great. Like, because those are some of my favorite Mario games of all time, easily. They're like really good. Especially 𝗏𝗀𝗻 Year Door, that one is really great. I still think that people hate on Super Paper Mario way too much. Like, that game isn't super great. Like, it's not as great as the first two, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. I personally think that game is a little underrated. But Sticker Star and Color Splash, nah, those weren't it. Because they just have such a generic flavor, and they basically nearly killed the Paper Mario series. And it didn't help that Mario and Luigi is gone. Like, we don't know if Mario and Luigi is coming back anytime soon. So if they didn't go back to the proper format and fix Paper Mario, it would be the end of Mario RPGs, and that would obviously be really bad because the Mario RPGs are good. They're easily some of the best games of the whole Mario brand. But I'm a little skeptical with this game because even if they do go back to the RPG gameplay, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to go back to the great storytelling, the creative worlds, the creative enemies. Like, I don't think Nintendo is going to fully let them go back to doing whatever they wanted, like with 𝗏𝗀𝗻 Year Door, and let them make the great game that they want to make. Like, I still feel like some of those Miyamoto restrictions are going to be lurking in the background a bit. Like, it might be a little better than Sticker Star and Color Splash. They might let maybe 1 or 2 original characters slide in there, but I still feel like a lot of those restrictions from Miyamoto are going to be lurking somewhere. 𝗏𝗏𝗯 the Great 64 had a great video on this, explaining why he's cautiously optimistic about the possibility of a Paper Mario returning to its roots, quote unquote, because we don't know if it'll fully return to its roots. And if it just partially returns to its roots, then that won't mean much because, for example, the Mario and Luigi series, it pretty much always had its gameplay roots, but the problem is it stripped away the crazy storytelling. It stripped away the freedom to use original characters. Like, the Mario and Luigi series was definitely declining towards the end of its lifespan, assuming it doesn't come back. But yeah, that's how I feel in terms of the RPG part of this rumor. So yeah, that was my full thoughts on all of the 35th anniversary rumors. A 3D Mario collection, a 3D World port, deluxe port, and a new Paper Mario that actually is similar to the original duo. So that would definitely be a bunch of cool stuff if it does end up happening, especially in 2020, because 2020 has just been a horrible and dry year for gaming and my personal life. So yeah, that would all be great stuff to have, especially the 3D collection if it does end up being remastered or remake, because those are easily some of my favorite games of all time. So having them on the Switch would be really cool. And the funny thing is, with these elements of the 35th anniversary, you know, all these cool things happening for Mario, the best thing is, I still think Super Mario Odyssey 2 is going to happen in due time, because the fact that Mario Odyssey got no DLC and the team has been so quiet for a long while, I still think that they're going to make a Super Mario Odyssey 2 in due time. So 3D Mario fans are about to be eating good. They're about to be eating good. Meanwhile, 3D Sonic fans are still begging for the next new modern game to be fully 3D. And we're praying for a Sonic Adventure remake that may or may not even happen. And on top of that, like, that remake might not even be good or faithful to the original. So yeah, in terms of 3D Sonic, things are not going great at all. Like, we don't even know if we're going to get the Adventure remake. We don't even know if that's going to happen. We might just get another crappy modern game. Meanwhile, 3D Mario fans about to be eating good. Oh, it's so painful. The last thing I'll end off on, I guess, is that a 3D Mario remaster or remake collection would be cool and all, but I would still sell my soul for that Earthbound remaster or remake collection. Like, you have no idea. Alright guys, that's pretty much all I have to say for today's topic. If you liked the video, leave a like, I guess. Leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on all these rumors and the future of Mario. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in a comment. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new, all that stuff. This has been Nux, and I'm out. Peace.